Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man sara ala sabilihi ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be continuing discussing the book Bulugh al-Maram by Hafidh ibn Ḥajar al-ʿAsqalānī rahimahullah, and we'll be continuing discussing concerning the chapter regarding al-buyu, so those matters that relates to al-mu'amalat. So of those things that he mentioned regarding of the ahkam of mu'amalat, that he started with concerning matters relating to buyu. Buyu meaning business transaction, as these matters are also as outlined in the Sharia. So we'll be starting with the hadith that he mentioned in the chapter concerning bab shuruti, regarding the shurut of buyu, وَمَا نَهَى anhu, and those things that have been forbidden regarding buyu. So the hadith I will be covering is the hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah. So the hadith will be read, and then we go into discussing the hadith after that.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam. We start on page 252, chapter 1, conditions of business transactions and those which are forbidden. The hadith 649, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anh. I heard that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying in the year of the conquest, while he was in Mecca, Allah and his Messenger have forbidden the sale of intoxicants, dead animals, swine and idols. He was asked, O Allah's Messenger, what about the fat of a dead animal? For it is used for greasing ships, greasing the hides of animals, and making oils for lamps. He replied, no, it is unlawful. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam then added, may Allah curse the Jews. When Allah the Most High declared the fat of such animals unlawful, they melted it, then sold it and devoured its price for profit.
So the author rahimahullah, Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he started mentioned concerning the hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah, and as for the hadith رضي عنهما قال أنه سمع رسول الله عليه السلام يقول يوم عام الفتح وهو بمكة. So he mentioned regarding concerning this hadith that this hadith was heard by Jabir ibn Abdullah رضي عنهما while he was in Mecca, and this occurred in the year al-Am al-Fath. So they mentioned regarding concerning Am al-Fath that when this occurred, that this is in Mecca al-Mukarramah. And this incident, it occurred in the month of al-Fath al-Makkah, that occurred in the month of Ramadan, in the year al-Thamina. So in the year of Thamina, min al-Hijrah. So in the 8th year of the Hijrah, when this particular incident occurred regarding al-Fath. So which is the conquest of Mecca with a Muslim, that they regained control over, Muslim gained control over Mecca. Then he mentioned, as for the hadith, then he mentioned, أن الله ورسوله حرم بيع الخمر والميت والخنزير والأصنام. وقيل يا رسول الله عليه السلام أرأيت شحوم الميت فإنها تتلى بها السفن وتدهن بها جلود ويستسبح بها الناس. فقال لا، هو حرام. ثم قال رسول الله عليه السلام عند ذلك قاتل الله اليهود إن الله تعالى لما حرم عليهم شحومها جملوه ثم باعوه فأكلوا ثمنه متفق عليه. So that's concerning the hadith that is mentioned here by Ibn Hajar rahimahullah regarding this matter. So this hadith is that it is related to the chapter regarding in buyu, that there are certain things that are forbidden to be sold. So in Bab al-Buyu, that there are certain things that the Sharia have outlined that these things are not allowed to be sold. So this hadith is to clarify some of those things that are not allowed to be sold. So as for what can be mentioned regarding the general meaning of the so the first of those things is discussing concerning Jabir ibn Abdullah. So as we mentioned, something pertaining to the narrator of the hadith, and who's the Sahabi Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhuma. So as for Jabir ibn Abdullah, so his name is Jabir ibn Abdullah ibn Amr ibn Haram al-Ansari thumma Salami. So that's concerning that. So it is Jabir ibn Abdullah ibn Amr ibn Haram al-Ansari thumma al-Salami. And is a Sahabi. Jabir is a Sahabi and also Ibn Sahabi. So both father, who is Jabir, son and father, who is Jabir, being the son, and his father, Abdullah ibn Amr, that both are companions. Then he mentioned that as for Jabir, that he participated in several of the Ghazawat. So he participated in over Tisa Ashar Ghazwa. So he participated in many of the Ghazawat with the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslim during that time. Then he mentioned that Mata bil Medina, that he died in the city of Medina, بعد 70 after the 70 year of the Hijrah, and he mentioned وهو ابن 94 and he was 94 years when he died. He died a year 94 years that he died. And the hadith of Jabir Abdullah that can be found in Kutubu Sitta and others. So the hadith of Jabir that is hadith can be found in Kutubu Sitta, Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, At-Tirmidhi, Nasahi wa Ibn Majah, and other books of hadith, and also the Muslim of Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So the hadith of Jabir is of those hadith is can be found in the books of As-Sunnah. So that's concerning matters pertaining to Jabir ibn Abdullah. Then the next of those matters that we'll discuss concerning takhrij of the hadith. So the next of those matters is regarding concerning the takhrij of the hadith, takhrij of the hadith by way of the source of this hadith. So as for the sources that this hadith can be found, as mentioned by the author, muttafaqun alayh. So Ibn Ḥajar rahimahullah, that he mentioned this hadith that is found in muttafaqun alayh, meaning Bukhari and Muslim. So I mean this hadith can be found in the book of Imam Bukhari and also in the book of Imam Muslim rahimahullah, tabarak ta'ala. And also, as we mentioned that, as for the name of Sahih Bukhari or Jami' al-Sahih, we have mentioned previous regarding what is the actual name of the book of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah. Then as for, we just also add concerning the name of Sahih Muslim. So the book of Imam Muslim rahimahullah, Muslim in the Ḥajar and Naysabur rahimahullah, regarding what is name of the book that he authored. So as for the name of the book, you have a discussion between the ulama of hadith, or the ulama, regarding what's the actual name of the book of Imam Muslim rahimahullah. So of the name that is said to be the name of Imam Muslim rahimahullah, that it is the book of Imam Muslim rahimahullah, the name of the book of Imam Muslim rahimahullah, that it is reported to be al-Jami', al-Musnad, or al-Musnad, al-Jami', al-Mukhtasar, min al-Sunan, بنقل عد عن العدل إلى عن رسول الله عليه الصلاة. So that's the name of Imam Muslim, the name that is given to Imam Muslim. So it is al-Muslim al-Jami' al-Mukhtasar من السنن بنقل عد عن عدل عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So that's the name of Imam Muslim book, rahimahullah, tabarak ta'ala. So as for the per se concerning this hadith, so the next matter is regarding concerning the general ruling of the hadith. So as for the general meaning of the hadith, that the hadith mentioned that inna Allaha wa rasuluhu. So some narration mentioned inna Allaha without concern the Prophet ﷺ being mentioned. And in this narration, it included concerning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger, that harrama have made forbidden by al-khamr. So of those things that are forbidden by way of the text is by way of by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his Rasul ﷺ have made forbidden the sale concerning of certain things. And of those things that are mentioned by al-khamr, regarding alcohol, wine, mayta, corpse, dead animals. Third, then it mentioned khanzir, swine, pig meat, and the pig. And fourth, it mentioned al-asnam, and also things of idols. So that's concerning that, so idols that are worshipped, that all these things are said to be forbidden. Then it mentioned that the hadith continue to discuss concerning that they mention ara'ita shuhum al-mayt. Then a person asks concerning inform us, ara'ita meaning inform us, ya Rasulullah, regarding the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regarding concerning that the oil from the mate, can this also be used, that people use these things to benefit, regarding that it used for different things. It used regarding that for the boats, also it used as for the lantern, for light, and also it is used for various reasons. So they mentioned that then they mentioned قال لا هو haram, but he mentioned that no, it is haram. A discussion between the ulama when he mentioned here قال لا هو haram, when the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that they mention of the benefits that are used from these things, regarding concerning that the oil, the fat from the animals. Then Islam mentioned, so they mentioned various things that it is used for. Then Islam, then he mentioned la huwa al-haram. So la huwa al-haram, no, that he mentioned that no, it is haram. Does this huwa haram, does it go back to the benefits that can be taken from some of these things, or from the oil from the mate, or does it goes back to this thing being something which is haram regarding sale? So the ulama mentioned that so it's the benefit that can be taken which is haram, or is it the sale of these things that is haram? So the ulama mentioned that it is the sale of these things which is haram. So the selling of these things that is haram. Then he mentioned after then for call regarding concerning the case of the Yahud, qatahullah al-Yahud, that we mentioned also the qatahullah al-Yahud, meaning concerned to know that death is a curse being upon them. So the curse be upon them. Then he mentioned inna Allah ta'ala lamma harama alayhim. Then he mentioned the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curses upon them, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made forbidden regarding concerning the fat from these the animals, that they gather this and then they sold this and then they ate from the sales, and they ate from the sale of these items. That's concerning that hadith and what is understood from the hadith. So as for regarding concerning that the ahkam that can be taken from the hadith. So and also to cite that even though Imam Ibn Ḥajar rahimahullah, that he mentioned regarding the takhrij of hadith muttafaqun alayh, meaning hadith in the Bukhari and Muslim, but also as those who have made takhrij of this hadith, that I mentioned this hadith also it is found in other books of hadith. So the main books of hadith, also this hadith can be found. So yes, he mentioned al-Bukhari or Muslim of the source of this hadith. Other sources that this hadith can be found in the Sunan of Abi Dawud, also in An-Nasa'i, At-Tirmidhi in his Al-Jami al-Kabir, Ibn Majah in his Sunan, also the book of Al-Musnad of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. Also the hadith can be found in Bayhaqi and others. So the hadith can be found in various sources other than Bukhari and Muslim. So that's concerning the takhrij complete regarding. So as for now the ahkam that can be derived from this hadith. So as for the ahkam that can be derived from this particular hadith. So we're discussing concerning the ahkam that can be derived from this hadith. There are many. So you find that of the ahkam that can be taken from the hadith, that one, as the hadith mentioned concerning al-khamar, so regarding concerning the sale and the purchase of khamar, so the buying and selling of khamar. So it mentioned regarding concerning the first of those things, that as we mentioned, that this hadith is related to this bab by way of this hadith is a discuss of those things that the Sharia have old to be haram, to be sold, and also to be bought. So regarding the selling and the purchasing of these things in the Sharia, it is said to be haram, because the Sharia stipulate these things are not to be sold, as in the hadith that we have in front of us. As for another after the first of those masahil that can be discussed regarding this particular hadith, they mention concerning the bay al-khamar. What's the ruling pertaining to bay al-khamar, the sale of khamar, of alcohol? They mention concerning that, so the first of those things that I mentioned regarding concerning that as for alcohol or al-khamar, then it is defined concerning that in linguistically ma azal al-aql, those things that pollute the person's mind, or the thing that it blocks the person's mind from functioning normal. So those things that will cause the person's mind not to function and to think rational and straight and normal, then this is al-khamar, where the person become intoxicated. So al-khamar is that thing that intoxicate the person's mind. So in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that in the hadith of Abdullah ibn Omar al-Khattab radhiyallahu قال كل مسكر خمر, that anything that intoxicated is khamar. وكل مسكر haram, and all thing that is alcohol, it is said to be that intoxicate the mind, it is haram. And that hadith in the Muslim. So it shows regarding concerning that. So from this, then the ulama have mentioned regarding concerning, as mentioned by Ibn Ḥajar rahimahullah, that there is an ijma regarding it is unlawful, it is forbidden for one to sell and the selling of alcohol. So as he mentioned regarding commerce, it mentioned Ibn Ḥajar rahimahullah, he mentioned Fathul Bari, fihi tahrim bi' al-khamar. So from this hadith, what can be concluded, what can be taken, that it is forbidden for one to sell khamar. Then he mentioned فقد نقل ابن منذر وغيره, so Ibn Munzir and other than him في ذلك الإجماع, that Ibn Munzir and others have stated that there's an ijma that it is forbidden the sale of khamar. then and for anyone that I've said other than this, then those calls considered to be shadh. Those views are said to be very odd, and those views oppose al-ijma and the hadith. So that's concerning the first of those matters, that regarding the sale of khamar, it is haram, and also the purchase of khamar is also haram. The purchase also of khamar by way of wine, by way of any form of beverage that are said to be of khamar, then these things are also haram. The second of those masail that relates to this that they mentioned regarding concerning that utur quhuliyah. So you have these matters that are concerning utur, these type of fragrance that contain certain level of alcohol. So you have fragrance that are used, but they contain quhul, they contain alcohol. What is concerning the ruling concerning these things? Are they allowed or not allowed? They mention regarding concerning that, that they mention that if the quhul, that it has been somewhat been yatahallal, that the khulul has been somewhat been processed. So this it has been processed through the khulul, that have been somewhat been processed or been manufactured, that the mawad concerning it being something that intoxicate has been removed, but it is still used by way of quhul. Then I mentioned that if it is something which is lam, if it has not yet been processed, in this then it becomes forbidden to be used. So in a case where the quhul, in a way of utur or whatever else that it is contained in, if it has not yet been processed, lam yatahallal, it has not been processed, and the mawad is still there regarding intoxicant, then it becomes haram for it. فَلَا يَجُوز إِسْتِعْمَالُ. It's not a use for a person to make use of it. Then also they mentioned that وَلَا بِعْ, and also it's not allowed to be sold. The second scenario regarding kuhul is that regarding thing that so it's not allowed for a person if it is not yet been processed, still unprocessed, then it's not allowed for a person to use it. Second, not allowed for a person to sell it. And third, not allowed for a person to buy this. The second scenario regarding kuhul is an after it has been processed, tahallat, as after it has been processed, and the quality regarding it being something which is intoxicant has been removed. Then I mentioned with kathir and that with the ulama, that whether it is in a large amount or small amount, because the quality of intoxicant has been removed, so it is used in a large amount or small amount, it does not intoxicate. They mentioned regarding that together, yajuz bay'uha, that it is permissible for one to sell it, and also for the person, shara', for the person also to purchase this, and third, it's allowed for the person to use it. So in the form of perfumes and fragrances that have kuhul, that have been processed, then it is allowed to be used. If it is not processed, then it is not allowed to be used. But if it has been processed, it is allowed to be used. That's concerning that particular matter. The next of those things that is discussed in the hadith concerning al-mayta, as they mentioned regarding concerning of those things that have been discussed, that they mentioned concerning al-mayta, the second of those things that are mayta. Then a second regarding al-mayta, that is mate, with the ulama rahimahullah have explained concerning that, as mentioned, they said concerning ma zalal anu hayat bila dhaka shar'iyan. So al-mayt, corpse, are those animals that have been killed, slaughtered, but without their life have been taken, but they were not killed in an Islamic way. They were not per se slaughtered in an Islamic manner. So if the animal had been killed and it was not killed in an Islamic manner, then it is considered to be mayta. It's considered to be mate. It's considered to be a corpse. So by this, they mentioned that with this concern that, as mentioned by Ibn Mundhir, that mentioned قد نقل ابن منذر وغيره إجماع على تحريم بيع الميت, that Ibn Mundhir rahimahullah and others of the ulama have stated that it is forbidden by way of a consensus of the ulama for a person to sell corpse. So animals that are killed, the animal was hit by a car and it died, a goat or a sheep or a cow, that they were hit by a car and they died from this, then this animal is not considered to be halal to be eaten, because it's considered to be a mayta, a corpse that is not allowed to be eaten because it was not slaughtered according to the Islamic rites. So they mentioned regarding concerns that's concerning that al-mayt, with the exception regarding, so concerned that as-samak, So say the exception, the ulama mentioned exception concerning as-samak wal jarat. So with those two things are exception to the rule. That samak, fishes, and second, jarad, which is grasshoppers. So those things can be eaten without being slaughtered. But as for every other an animal, then they have to be slaughtered Islamically before they can be eating for those animals that are allowed to be eaten. So that's concerning that matter regarding al-bay, al-mate. And also, it is forbidden for one to eat, consume of such animals. It's forbidden for one to consume of such animals, and that will be discussed further in the other chapters to be discussed. The second of those matters that relates to al-mate, that they mention regarding concerning of certain parts that relates to some of the different parts of the animal. So regarding julud, al-mate, qabla, dibaq. So regarding concerning what's the ruling pertaining to the sale of the skin of the corpse, the deceased animal, before it has been tanned or been processed. So the animal, a sheep, was killed, was hit by a car. Can one sell of the skin of that animal before it has been, before it is tanned? So I mentioned regarding concerns, they find that jumhur of the ulama, regarding concerns before it has been tanned or processed. That you find that jumhur of the ulama, that they are all concerned now that it is tahrim al-bay. It is not allowed regarding concerning that that jumhur of the ulama take the view that it is forbidden for one to sell off this skin of the animal before it has been tanned. Then you find that some of the ulama, they all that it is permissible. Amongst those all the permissibility of this, they mention az-Zuhri wa Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. And also, is they say mention that it seemed to be the zahir view of Imam Bukhari. It seemed to be the zahir, the apparent view of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, based upon what he has mentioned regarding from his Sahih, as the chapter heading from his book. So that's concern of those ulama who are more inclined towards the view that it is permissible regarding the sale of animals that are considered to be corpse before their skin has been processed or been tanned. And Allahu Alam, based upon the hadith, that the hadith here kind of somewhat more inclined, that he mentioned, it's not to be sold. So al-mate, and regarding their skin before it's been tanned, also not to be sold. And that's the call of Jumhur of the ulama. And the hadith of the hadith here is of the hadith that is used on other hadith. The third of those matter that relates concerning al-mate that is mentioned is regarding concerning the skin of the corpse animal ba'da dibagh, after it has been processed or been tanned. So after it's gone through the process of tanning, the skin has been tanned, it has been processed, is allowed for someone after this for to sell off the skin. They mention that majority of the ulama ala jawaz bay'uha, that majority of the ulama is of the view that it is allowed for the skin to be sold after it has been tanned or been processed. And I mentioned أنه يجوز انتفاع بها, and also it's allowed for the person to benefit from it. The person to benefit from it. So that's concerning Jumhur of the ulama, are the view that it can be sold and one can benefit from it. So that's concerning that matter. The next matter regarding the matter regarding concerning things regarding as-suf, the wool, the sha'r, the hair, and also a wabar regarding concerning the fur. Are those things also allowed that one can benefit from the mate? So the corpse, can we benefit from these things from the corpse? They mention a khilaf in the matter between al-ilm regarding this matter, and the matter it lies upon the corpse. Is it considered to be tahir or najas? So the corpse, is it considered to be najas? Is it pure or impure? Then that's where the difference lies between the ulama on this particular matter. So what is to find that jumhur of the ulama, called jumhur min ahli al-ilm ala annaha laysa bi najas. So jumhur of the ulama, they hold that the corpse, that its skin and hair and wool, that it is the wool and the hair and the fur is not considered to be najas. So based upon this, that they take it to this tahir. So based upon this, they all let you know it can be used and be sold. It can be sold because it is said to be with jumhur of the ulama that it is tahir, it is pure. But you find that Imam Shafi rahimullah and of the ulama, that they take the position that concern the wool, the hair, and the fur of the mate of the corpus, the corpse, that animal, that it is najas. So those all it is najas, they're all concerning that they forbid the sale of these things. They forbid the sale of these things. And Allahu Alam, Ibn Ḥajar, that they mentioned that as sawab, that it is qawl jumhur, the qawl of jumhur, majority of ulama, that it is allowed to be sold. That view is the correct view. The next matter concerning the final of those matters regarding al-mayta, it will be concerning bil-idham, regarding the bones of the animal, wal-qurun, and also the horns of those animals. Are they allowed to be sold? So those animals are that is said to be a mayta, that is said to be a corpse. Are we allowed to sell off their idham, their bones, and also their qurun, or their qurun? Are there things, the horns? They mentioned that the khilaf between ulama on this particular matter, and again it goes back to, is this animal in this state najas or not najas? Is it najas or tahir? Then it goes back again to this matter, and that to with this that of the ulama who hold that it is regarding these things that we just mentioned concerning the idham, that jumhur of the ulama all concerning the bones as the internal, that and the qur'an, they all it is najas. Concerning the taqaddam and the jumhur ulama yaruna najasatiha, najasatuha, that they all is something which is najis. So regarding the bones that are internal, that jumhur of the ulama take that they are najis, and based upon this is not allowed to be sold. But you find that some of the ulama, such as Abu Hanifa, wa Imam al-Thawri, Sufyan al-Thawri, Dawood al-Zahiri, and also Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, that they are inclined towards the view that it is the bones and the horns that they are tahir, that the bones that they are tahir. So based upon this, they take the position that it is allowed to be sold. It is allowed to be sold. So that's concerning the matter. And Allahu Alam, that of those who mentioned, that seems to be the more correct view, that it is also allowed to be sold regarding the horns and also the bones of the mayta. So that's concerning matter relating to the animals, regarding concerning al-mayta, the corpse who have been killed other than a way which is Islamic. But we have we discussed some of the masail that relates to this. The next matter we discussed concerning regarding the third item that discussed concerning al-khinzir. So regarding al-khinzir, which is concerning the swine. So regarding the pig or the swine, are we allowed regarding the sale of this meat? They mentioned نقل الإجماع من أهل العلم أو نقل الجماعة من أهل العلم الإجماع على تحريم بيع الخنزير. So there's an ijma between the ulama, a consensus, an agreement between all the scholars that it is forbidden for one to sell off the swine meat, to sell the meat of the pig. It is forbidden. So the swine, it is forbidden to be sold. And Ibn Munzir, Ibn Qudama, and Nawawi, and the likes have mentioned that it is forbidden based upon ijma of the ulama. Based upon, it is an ijma, an agreement, consensus between the ulama of Islam. And based upon also the hadith of Jabir that is explicit on this matter. So that's concerning the khanzir. And that regarding the khanzir that is discussed concerning isti'mal shar or shar al-khanzir. Is it allowed for one to make use, to benefit from the hair of the khanzir? So the hair from the khanzir. As for the meat, then it is forbidden to be eaten and to be sold and to be purchased. ذهب, regarding concerning the isti'mal شعر الخنزير, ذهب جمهور إلى عدم الجواز استعماله, that jumhur of the ulama, that they take the position that it is not allowed for the person to make use and to benefit from the hair of the khinzir, from the hair of the swine. لأنه نجس, because according to them it is najas. According to them that the khinzir, it is najas, and also by this the hair of the khinzir, of the pig, also it is najas. لأنه يحرم بيعه فلا ينتفع به. So it is forbidden for it to be sold, so one should not benefit from anything from it. Also another view of the ulama, some of the ulama, أجاز استعماله Abu Hanifa. So Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, and also some of the Malikiyah, that they take the position that it is allowed for one can benefit from the hair of the khanzir, that it can be benefit, that it can be used, and that's the view of Abu Hanifa, and also some of the Malikiyah. And also Ibn Mundir rahimahullah, he mentioned the view of Awzahi or Abu Yusuf, and also of the Malikiyah, that a small amount can be used. of the ulama of the Malikiyah, some mention a small amount can be used. So that's concerned the discussion between the ulama, that the use of the hair of the khinzir, of the swine. Majority of the ulama, that jumhur, no, is not to be used, forbidden. And as for some of the ulama, that it can be used, it can be benefit from. And Allahu Alam, that they mentioned that the second view, that of Abu Hanifa, of the Raji, of the author of this, the one who have authored this book, Fathul Alam, take the position that it can be used. So the author, Fathul Alam, Ashar of Bulugh Maram, that he take the position, Akrab, huwa jawal isti'malu, that it is allowed for it to be used. So he's more in line. لأن الشر ليس بنجس في نفسه, as he mentioned that the shar, the hair of the swine in itself, it is not najas. وأما البيع فلا يجوز. But as for selling this, it is not allowed. As for selling, it is not allowed, but it can be made use of. But overall, احتواط, he mentioned, واحتواط والأحوط عدم استعماله. But what is more preferred, the safer way, is for the person to not make use of it. The person to leave it away, that is, and to find some other substitute, then that is preferred to be done. But overall, he mentioned that it can be done, but preferable if there's substitute for the person not to make use of it. The next of those things that he discussed concerning, that's concerning khinzir. So as for the next matter, he discussed al-asnam. As I mentioned, harrama al-bay al-khamar wal-mayta wal-khinzir wal-asnam. So as for asnam, the ulama rahimahullah, that they are mentioned regarding wa hafidullah, that they are mentioning as-sanam, which is the plural, the mufrad for asnam. As-sanam, they mention huwa kullu ma yu'bad min dunillah. There's everything that is worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mimma lahu surah, of those things that it has a form, it has a shape. So those things that can have a shape, and they mention after the insan or animals, they refer to as those as concerning as sanam. So those things that can be formed, you can put a shape to those things, form a shape to them, those are considered to be sanam. Whether those things are made from hadith, they're made from metal, or from khashab, or from anything else. So if they're made from, if their structure made from these things are considered to be sanam. Then I mentioned a difference regarding al-watan. So you have also my discussion al-watan, was the difference between as-sanam wal-watan, and also watan is something which is worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So watan is ma ya'budu min dunillah, something also that is worship other than worshipping something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So watan we call ma lahu juth. So they mentioned that as-sanam, sometimes all those things that it has got a body form. It has a body form, that of a corpse. Yu'bad min dunillah, that is worship, then other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is worship. So that's concerned, they mentioned fal'a. So those are different, that what they mentioned regarding what is sanam, and also what is watan, which is also something that is, those things are idols that are worshipped. So as for those things, they mentioned that after giving the definition of those things, the next matter concerning that, hal yajuz al-bay' as-sanam li-intifa, is it allowed to the person to sell a sanam? So they sell concerning an idol. Then I mentioned regarding concern that إذا كان قد كسر, if it has been for sell it as it is, then لا يجوز. To sell it as it is, then it is لا يجوز, for it to be, so it is not allowed for a person to sell a sanam, an object of worship, to be for the people to worship. It's not a Jews, not allowed for it to be done. Then I mentioned that, but if this thing has been, the sanam has been broken up into pieces, been smashed into pieces, Abdullah mentioned Yajuz in the Al-Him, that the ulama mentioned that now those pieces, they can be sold and be benefited from. So those things that can be sold or benefit from. So if it's made of wood and the person wants to smash it up and turn it into just pieces of wood, then those wood can be sold as wood. They can be sold as wood, not as a sanam. But as long as it's in the form of a sanam, then it is not allowed to be sold. It's not allowed to be sold. So that's concerning that matter regarding that. It is not allowed for the sale of sanam if it's remain in its original form. But if it's been smashed into pieces, then those pieces, then it ulama it can be sold. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he mentioned that a matter concerned as we mentioned is not allowed to be sold. But he mentioned that you might find concerned to know that He mentioned فلا يجوز أن تشتريه أبدا. It's not allowed for it to be purchased أبدا, meaning a sanam. اللهم إلا, they mentioned except اللهم إلا أن إلا إذا لم يتوصل إلى إهلافه إلا بذلك. Except for a person who wishes to destroy it, the only way to destroy that someone is for them to purchase it, then destroy it. Except in those cases. So there's a sanam that is being worshipped, and a person wish it being sold, and a person wish to buy it so as to destroy it so no one worship it, then in that case, the person, then it could be done for that purpose. Not for the purpose, so it will be, is being purchased for a purpose as for it to be destroyed, not to be used an object of worship. So in that case, an allowance, an exception is given regarding in cases as such. As for concerning the benefit regarding these things, concerning that the fat from the mayta, then أكثر أهل العلم that these things, أكثر أهل العلم على that one is not allowed to benefit from the fat from the mayta, based upon the hadith I mentioned concerning لا هو haram. But I mentioned that when Islam said لا haram هو haram, it goes back to you are not allowed to benefit from this. But you find that Jama'a min al-ulama, that from amongst the Shafi'iyya and also the Hanabila, that they all consider now one can benefit from the fat, from the oil from the mayta. So whatever grease, whatever of the that can be taken from this, then those things can be benefit from, but not per se sold. So a person can benefit from it and use for certain things, to grease, for oil, for the lamps, and for other things that it can be used as to benefit, but it will not be sold. It's not to be sold. So that's concerning of those things that can be taken from that hadith. Another matter they discussed regarding from this hadith concerning that, what I mentioned concerning that what they refer to as regarding concerning, for example, human feces and bowel. Can these things that are used sometimes for manure, can these things be sold and be purchased? So they mentioned that if these things, that one can benefit from these things as a form of manure regarding or fertilizer for the crops, if they won't harm the crops, so it won't have severe harm to the crops, then this concerning these fertilizer regarding that human feces and also that of animals, that they can be used and benefited from if with that it doesn't cause tremendous severe harm to the crop. It doesn't create severe harm to the crops. So that's concerning that those matters regarding concerning some of those things that are discussed in this particular hadith. Of those things, so that's concerning of the ahkam that can be taken from the hadith. The ahkam that can be taken from the hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhuma. Of those things that I mentioned regarding concerning this hadith, also it shows regarding concerning that that of those things that Islam, that of the objective maqasid al-shar'iyya, maqasid al-shar, of the objective of the Sharia is to preserve and to protect certain things. So of those things the Sharia is there to protect concerning the person's deen, also the person's intellect, also the person's wealth and property, the person's lineage, the person's honor. So the Sharia is there to protect these things. So therefore, the hadith to show that regarding concerning that from this hadith to show that that of these things that the Sharia have made forbidden these things because the asnam, protection of deen, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one to be worshipped. So the sale of asnam, of idol, things of idol that are worshipped, that is forbidden. Also regarding al-khamar, because of it intoxicate a person's mind negatively. Also al-khinzir, affect the body and the likes. So it shows regarding that the Sharia is there to protect certain things. So this hadith can somewhat capture that the Sharia, when something is forbidden in Islam because it has an impact on one of those things, either the person's religion, the person's body, the person's mind and intellect, the person's lineage, the person's honor. So the Sharia, all those things, put things in place to protect these things. So al-khamar is forbidden. Again, regarding concern a person involvement concerning al-khamar by way of carrying it, working in that environment, drinking of it, shipping. So involvement with al-khamar is all haram. Involvement in al-khamar is all haram, as mentioned so those ones, and also that they mentioned also that can be added, included regarding al-Khamar, mukhaddarat. So of those things that would be placed alongside with Khamar, and at times worse, would be regarding concerning mukhaddarat. So concerning that these illegal type of drug substance that are used by people, illegal substances that are used to get high and to intoxicate themselves, then all these things are also haram and illegal. So the use of concerning that, those type of substances that will impact on a person's intellect and their mind, then all these substances are haram. From a form of marijuana, ganja, the use of fag, cigarettes, and other things, weed, also other things, skunk, substance abuse regarding cocaine, and all these other things, taking up things of pills, that also the same thing, the person inhaling of certain things, all these things are haram. That will have an impact on a person. So al-Khamar, as mentioned, that anything that intoxicates or that clocks, that covers the mind from functioning properly, then all these things will be included of these illegal substances that are used. So those are some of those matters that are discussed in this particular hadith regarding those matters regarding of those things. So the shahid from the hadith is that regarding concerning that in business transaction, that there are certain things that the Sharia have deemed to be haram for a person to buy and to sell of those items. Some of these things are listed in this hadith. Some of those things, so all those ones that are listed in this hadith are forbidden, and anything that are similar to those and others that are included. But this hadith mention some of those things that are haram. So with this, inshallah ta'ala, that we have gone through many masahil that relates to this particular hadith regarding the various points or ruling that can be taken from this particular hadith. So overall concerning the hadith, it shows regarding it is forbidden regarding the sale concerning al-Khamar, Mayta, wal-Khanzir, asnam, and all those things are generally concerning that in Jumla that they agreed upon between the ulama of Islam. Some exception to certain things regarding matters, we discussed some of those matters, and also it showed that Islam, that is about concerning the well-being of the individual, that the Sharia of Islam is also about the well-being of the general community in kind of somewhat forbidding certain things. What about way of forbidding certain things so that will have a negative impact on the community and the society. So the Sharia also tried to uphold those things that would be of benefit regarding the community and the individual. So trying to preserve the well-being of the person and also the well-being of the community. Also from the hadith, the Prophet said, al-Yahud, it showed the permissibility regarding dua against the kuffar. So it showed the permissibility of a person making dua, cursing those of the kuffar. Cursing, it showed the permissibility where alayhi salam that mentioned this. And also it shows concern that a person, it also showed that the person not to try to go around thing which is haram. So al-hila, when a person try to go around something which is haram, then also this hadith show that those things that the person should also, those things are forbidden. So ways are people trying to find ways to go around something which is haram and to deceive and trying to be deceitful, then these are things that, and also they show that this is something which is a way that this is something which is haram to have that approach towards things. So with this hadith that we have outlined these benefit from the hadith and the ahkam from this hadith. So this inshallah ta'ala will end this particular session regarding discussion of this of the chapter of buyu, regarding concerning matters relating to the shurut of buyu, the condition of buyu, and also ma naha anhu minhu, and also things that are forbidden regarding certain business transaction. So this inshallah ta'ala will end. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهادي إلى السبيل والآخرة والحمد لله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.